Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 6 fall forest Dollar Tree DIYs for you. So my inspiration for these DIYs was all like woodland creatures, kind of the fantastical forest theme that I've been trying to DIY this year, and I really enjoy this theme. I hope you love these new DIYs. For the first one, check out this cute little pumpkin they have this year from the Dollar Tree. It has like a green background pumpkin with mushrooms all over, which is exactly the vibe I was going for. But I do want to change out the little glitter Give Thanks pumpkin. And so I just went ahead and sanded off the glitter. And I designed a printable of a kind of corresponding plaid fabric with a cute little watercolor fox on there. And I will include a link to the printable in the description of today's video. I printed mine out on cardstock and I just sketched the size of the pumpkin out. If you print it at 100%, it should be the perfect size for this pumpkin. And I just sketched it on there with a pencil so that I can cut it out. I always like to print my artwork usually out on cardstock because it Mod Podges really well and I don't have to worry about any wrinkling or anything like that. This is a very soft like green and orange plaid. And then the little star of the show is going to be the fox. And I think that the fox combined with the mushrooms is going to look so cute for fall. And so I just cut that out. I will do something different for the stem. And I was able to get the glitter off of the give word really easily. So I have a nice smooth surface to Mod Podge this on. I just added a layer of Mod Podge, set this on here, and I put mine on with like a dry paper towel just to make sure that it is laying flat and I don't have any tearing. And I can go straight over it with more Mod Podge, so just a time saver. I do want to put a couple coats of Mod Podge on there to really protect it since it was just paper and I don't want it to get discolored or anything like that. It was really easy to pop this top pumpkin off and now I just need to reattach it. But first, let's do something about that stem. I'm just going to take some Dollar Tree twine and hot glue it here to the back and then simply wrap it around. Nothing crazy. I really want the star of the show to be the fox. And I really like the bow and the beads that are on the little mushroom pumpkin. But I think these are really cute. I was laughing when I was editing this because I noticed that it says $1.25 on the pumpkin. They didn't red sticker me. I wonder if they're going to get in trouble for having items in their store that say $1.25, but they're not $1.25 anymore. And I'm just going to add hot glue here and try to glue it back on exactly where I had it before, over here to the side. Now, I honestly can't remember if this stood up on its own before I took it apart or if I just didn't get it together perfectly. But it didn't really want to stand up for me, so I am going to have to add like a little wood block or something to the back of it just to make sure that it stands up. These are like the giant Jenga blocks. I usually get mine at Five Below, but I've heard that Dollar Tree has them, but I have yet to see them at any of my stores. But I'm just going to glue that onto the back. You could really, do about anything. There's that $1.25 tag. It's kind of crazy that they had pre-printed all the $1.25 merchandise and then raised their price. And I'm just going to hot glue it here on the back, and that's just going to make it more stable because I want this to be a standing sign DIY. It was really easy to put together and it's so cute. Like half of the sign was already done for me with that great mushroom design. And I love mushrooms for fall. I think they can be a great crafting touch, and look how cute they look together. I think it looks so much better than it did before. And I really adore that little fox on there. I think he's so cute. And I really love this fantastical forest vibe for fall. It's a lot of like leaf prints, like mushroom print like this, but it's also a lot of plaids. And I think they can all really work well together. And this is how this one turned out. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, it always helps. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on bells for notifications of when I post new content. Okay, the next DIY I picked up just a sign from the Dollar Tree. It can be anything. I just needed something with an opening. And I also picked up some great fall fabrics from the Dollar Tree. Now you can use felt for this. I found these cool fabrics, so I designed my own little pattern. and we're gonna make a fun fall quail DIY. So I designed this pattern and I scanned it in, so I will include a link to this as well if you wanna recreate. And I tried to write on them what color they should be. So for the orange, I'm gonna use an orange plaid material, and that is going to be the wing of the quail. That is really going to be the only thing I'm doing with this orange plaid fabric. It's kind of a fuzzy fabric. It's really pretty. But again, if you wanted to recreate yours with just the standard color like felts from the Dollar Tree, that was my first idea. I'm going to take my template. I just cut it out of cardstock, and I've decided to double most of the things up to make them a little bit more substantial, and I can slightly stuff them as well for this display. I wanted to make a shadow box with a fall quail in there with some babies. I thought that would be really cute, a little nest. And so I just doubled up my fabric and had it back to back so I could cut out like a mirror image of each one. And I can put that together to be the wing for the quail. I keep wanting to call it a pheasant. It's quail. And I'm going to stuff it with just cotton balls. I needed some stuffing that was really small, and so I picked up some cotton balls from the Dollar Tree for crafting, and they work really well for this. I just glue the wing together, leaving open a pocket that I can stuff it. I don't want to stuff it a lot. I just want to give it a little bit of a 3D vibe, and so it's not super flat. And again, I am going to double up most of the items. I just think it made it look a little bit better in the final diorama. Now for the next part is going to be the brown part. So this is going to be part of the quail and its tail as well as a little tail feather. So again, I just cut out my little template piece. This is going to go around the head, and then I am going to cut out the tail piece, and I want to cut this out of this brown fuzzy fabric. I think this is so pretty. I kind of wish I would have done brown felt on this though. It would have been a little bit easier to cut. I was trying to get kind of an intricate design there on the neck, but it was really kind of hard to cut this in an intricate pattern because it's like that velvety material, but I was able to make it work. I just laid my pattern here on the back of the fabric, and I just used an ink pen to kind of sketch it out. And again, I'm going to be doubling that up as well, and also the tail feather. I wanted these pieces to be separate. I couldn't find a template for something that I wanted to do this, and so I had to like get out the marker and draw my own pattern. But I really love how this project turned out. And again, I will share the printable. I have it where it'll print out on 2 sheets like that, so you can make your own little pattern here to recreate. So again, I cut out 2 of the tail feather, and then I'm going to cut out 2 of this bird piece cover. This is going to cover like most of the quail, but it's also going to have like a belly that's going to be like a little bit of a different color. So this one was where it was a little bit hard to cut this because I had to cut it kind of thin here. I think felt would have been a little bit stiffer, and it would give you the same effect because this is just kind of a brown plush fabric. It's not quite as cool as the next fabric that we're going to be using, which is really cool. Now to go ahead and put this together, I'm going to go ahead and glue the tail together. Just a very short little tail feather here. Don't have a lot of room for stuffing in here, but maybe I'll work in a little tiny bit of plush there in the tail feather. And then same as the other one, I'm going to put plush sides on the outside and glue this together. This upper area here is too small to kind of stuff with anything, so I just glued that part completely shut, but I can add some stuffing when I do the rest, and just trying to add a little bit of stuffing as I go and hot glue this together. This was such a fun DIY. I really wanted to make a fall quail DIY, but I couldn't think of anything I could use from the Dollar Tree that would look anything like a quail. So we had to get creative and use Dollar Tree supplies to make our very own. So that is the brown components. And then this is going to be the things I need that are tan. And I found this tan fabric. It is also fuzzy, and it's got like little spots on it. Now, if you can't find this, you could also use like an ivory or a tan felt. I think that would look really cute too. But I love the spots, especially for a bird. I think that's really cute. This larger part here is most of the bird body. This is the mama bird, the mama quail, and then I'm also going to do babies. Now, I went ahead and designed 3, so you can do up to 3, but then I kind of remembered, I'm just making a pattern, so I really only need to cut one of these out. I can just reuse it. So these 2 parts are going to make up a baby bird. So again, I'm just laying that on the back of my tan and white spotted fabric like that. I'm going to go ahead and cut out a piece large enough to double that one up. I really love that fabric. I might use that more for some fall crafting because I've been doing some deer crafting and stuff like that. That would make perfect like fawn spots. And I just sketch out the shape of the bird. And again, I'm going to cut it out double. I'm not worrying about pinning anything. I'm just trying to, we got things to do. We got crafts to make here. So I cut out that part, and then for the baby birds, I'm going to do kind of the same thing. At first, I thought I was going to do 3 baby birds because I like to work with odd numbers. But then I started looking at the size of my box and thinking, I probably can't fit 3 baby birds, and I'm glad I didn't make 3 baby birds because they wouldn't have fit. But I did go ahead and kind of sketch them out here, leaving enough room to double everything up. And again, I'm just going to go in here and cut out 2 of everything. And it's really important to, kind of mirror them like that, fold them so they will be a mirror image of each other so they will match up perfectly when you go to put them together. The baby bird design is so easy. It's just like an 8 design or a little 2-piece snowman kind of. And then I have the other piece there that's going to be the wing. This is when I decided that 2 baby birds was probably enough. So I just cut out 2 of these. And then I'm also going to cut out the little feathers for the babies. I doubled up the little wings here, but I really only needed 1 in the end because I didn't really need to stuff that part. But for our 2 little baby birds, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to try to glue them together. And this was probably the most time-consuming project out of my new DIYs today, but you know what? It was really fun to make, and I love the finished result. So I just glue that together, leaving a tiny pocket and adding the cotton balls. The cotton balls worked great for this because it just gave them a little bit of stuffing, made them look plush, even though, I'm not doing any sewing or anything like that. So it's definitely my kind of crafting. And I am going to glue this one together and stuff him as well. Super cute. He's only going to need like an eye and a beak to finish off the baby. And again, the wings, I really don't need them to be stuffed at all because the baby birds are so small. So I'm just going to glue them on where they will kind of, just be attached by like a little tiny part here at the top. And have that go out to the side. And I'm going to do that with both of these. Isn't that fabric so cute? When I saw this fabric, I knew I had to make some kind of fall forest. And now this is going to be the mama bird. And the brown part is going to overlap some of this. So I went ahead and put this together, put a little bit of cotton in there, and glued this shut. Again, I don't want it to be super thick, but just enough to have a 3D effect. And then we can put the brown part of the bird on. It's going to fit right there where it kind of matches up here on the back side. I didn't want to do too intricate of a design for the fall quail, but I wanted a fun enough design that you're going to be able to tell what kind of bird it is here in the end. And there's a few distinguishing features of quail that will make that stand out. And then also the tail feather, I'm just going to add that separately. Hot gluing this here so it looks like there's like feathers on top of tail feathers. And then here is that little orange plaid wing where we're going to have the little scalloped edge go down like that, and I just attached that with a little bit of hot glue as well. And our little quail are coming right along. For the black part, I'm going to cut out like a wing, a little bit of face design here for the mama bird. It also has that cool, I think they call it a top knot, which is the feather on the top of the quail head, which is a really fun distinguishing feature. So I'm going to cut this out, and I'm just using felt for this one. And this is going to be the beak. It's going to go like that and kind of go down underneath the beak a little bit. This is that cool top net feather that I was talking about. That's going to be kind of coming out of the top of its head. I'm going to cut that out of the black felt as well. And then I'm also going to do some tiny triangles for the beaks for the little baby quail. And I did put them on my little pattern, but really just for size comparison. It's really easy to cut out a little tiny triangle. I just wanted to kind of get the scale right and just cut out 2 little black triangles for the beaks for the baby birds. Then for the eyes, I decided to use like the little beaded stickers from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use one for the mama bird because it's a larger. I had some blue ones. I just painted mine black. These make a great size for an eye. And then I'm going to glue on the little beak to our quail. And then this is the little top knot feather we can have coming out of the top of its head. And it kind of curves towards the front like that. And then I'm going to glue on the little eye that we painted black. Since the baby birds are smaller, I'm going to try to make their eyes smaller just so it'll be a little bit more to scale. You could always use felt to cut out a tiny eye as well, but it's kind of hard to cut out a tiny circle in felt. I just glued on the little beaks, and I had some of these jewel border letters from the Dollar Tree, and they're just kind of like the other, but they're way smaller. So peel and stick sticker, so perfect. So I added 2 little eyes for our babies. Now let's get started on that fall shadow box. It doesn't really matter what sign you use. I wanted a square sign, and so I just picked up whatever I could find at Dollar Tree. I don't want it to say pumpkin pie on the back of it though, so I'm going to cover it with like a wood grain cheap contact paper just so the back of my project will look nice. I'm fine with the size of the sign being white. I think that will look fine. I'm just going to smooth this out and then simply use a sanding sponge. This contact paper from the Dollar Tree is so cheap, it's really easy to cut with the sandpaper, and it just gave me a perfect cut. And now the back of my project is going to look nice too, because we are going to fill the inside of it and make it into a shadow box. We're also going to be framing it out. For the back, I want it to be covered just with like mossy material. So I just used tacky glue all over. And then for the moss, I'm going to be using the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree. It's like a little bit different than the reindeer moss. As you can see, it just kind of crumbles into pieces, which is why I added glue everywhere so I can just kind of glue this down for a fun fall background. And it's okay if you see a little bit of the brown come through. And then for greenery, I guess I'm going to use some pampas grass. I like this color. I thought it looked like something that might be a fun fall background for a quail. I'm just going to cut these down where they will fit in our little shadow box. And I think 2 of these would be fine. The orange one would probably be cute too. They have these in fall colors as well. And then I'm just going to attach them with hot glue, and we're just going to try to make a real easy background. And for that, I thought fall leaves would be perfect. So I picked up these, they kind of traditional colors. I want to switch it up and use like one of each. So there's like a red, there's an orange, we got a brown, and I think 4 of them should be enough. And I kind of like the pampas grass a little bit better. So I'm going to have that kind of be on top, I think, and then have like the fall leaves kind of nesting inside there. And again, I am going to frame that out. So the frame's going to look a little bit better here in the end. So I want to make sure to keep everything inside the box because I don't need anything to be getting in the way of the frame we're going to DIY. And now we can have our mama quail and our little baby quail here off to the side. And I want it to look like they're all sitting in a nest. So I just took some Spanish moss. I've been having trouble finding that at Dollar Tree. So I've been having to get that at Walmart lately. And I just took a little bit to make a nest size shape. And I'm also going to be adding rope to that to really kind of give it that fun nest-like feel. I just take a scrap piece of Dollar Tree rope, and then I unwind it into individual little strings here where I can add that here to the front. So it's just another fun element. It looks like something that a bird would make a nest out of. And I'm just going to glue the little pieces of string to the Spanish moss and have it kind of curve up a little bit there on the sides. And I haven't attached my quail yet. I want to get, the background and everything in the right place so I know exactly where to place these. So I'm really glad I didn't do 3. As you can see, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit 3 little babies here. I want them to be like facing the mama quail. And so I just attached them with hot glue. And it's just a very 3D diorama shadow box. It turned out so cool. And then we can have like the mama quail like right here, front and center. And we're going to also add some fun fall little touches to this as well. I glued mama down as well. Now for the frame, I'm going to use some of this camping kindling wood. I got this at Dollar General for only $1, and I thought it'd be fun for crafting, and this worked out really well. It stained beautifully too. It's the perfect length, so I will have to cut 2 down to make it fit the very front of this shadow box design. And of course, I want to give it a quick stain. I just used some antique wax by Waverly, and I went ahead and stained 3 sides of all of them. And it stained beautiful. It was very rustic looking. And I knew this would come in handy for crafting. This is one of the reasons why I told you guys to pick some of this up. I know several of you guys saw it and had the same idea, so that's always fun. I just use a paper towel to wipe off the excess stain, and then we can start putting this together. It is the exact same length as a sign. I'm just going to glue this here to the edge, kind of lining up the outside, and I'm going to do that top to bottom on both sides. And then for the other pieces, we can cut those down to fit in between. Doesn't that look so cool? It's a really cool wood grain on there. I'm just going to mark exactly how big I want these to be. Take these to my saw and cut these down. And what a quick, easy way to do a frame for a shadow box. And it really gives you that like shadow box feel because it's all boxed in. But this looks way better than the edges of the sign did before. And I just attached all the pieces with hot glue. Now I decided I wanted the mama quail sticking out a little bit more 3D. So I just added a little mini Jenga block behind her just to finish that off and make her stick out a little bit more. And then I added a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin in green, one of the clip ones. I just removed the clip, attached that with hot glue. And then I thought maybe a couple of the little acorns from the Dollar Tree would be cute in there. This dark brown color I think looks nice. So I'm just going to glue a couple of those around the area, but we've already got a lot going on, so I think that is enough decor for this little quail shadow box, but I really love how it turned out. I think it's really cute. What do you guys think about our little fall quail shadow box diorama? I really kind of stepped outside my comfort zone with this and really experimented, but I really love the results. I think it's so whimsical and fun. And if you recreate this DIY, please show me and let me know. I'd love to see it. You'll have to post it in our Facebook group because I would love to see what you come up with. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make a fun fall tray. I found this little tray piece from the Dollar Tree. I don't know why it doesn't have any feet though. It's really cute though, it's beaded. And I'm going to add some feet just using some of the round wood beads. They're similar in color. They're a little bit shinier and darker. I think 4 will be plenty. I'm just going to glue those onto the bottom of this beaded tray. But I thought this was a fun find. I found this like in the home decor section with like the framed artwork and stuff like that. And I just glued these all on with hot glue. I wanted to do a fun fall tray with like a mushroom theme. Now I don't like the brown all being the same color, so I decided to add a little distressing with mine. I used this Beachcombers beige, I think this is called, just a tannish color, and I distressed all of the little wood half beads that are on there, and I also distressed the tray, and then I'm going to distress the little feet that we added to it. I'm really kind of surprised they didn't put feet on it because it looks just like a tray, but it really needs little feet, don't you think? So I just went ahead and distressed it. Distressing the glossy little wood beads here for the feet actually made them not so glossy anymore. Then I'm going to add one of these wood look pumpkins. They look like wood, but they're actually like a ceramic material. And some of the floral moss from the Dollar Tree for our tray. Check out the mushrooms this year from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute. This is kind of like a honey color velvet material on there. They had all different colors, and I love the changes to these this year. I think they look really cool. I love the stems. I want them to be all different heights, so I'm gonna glue one here just directly to my tray and kind of lean it off to the side, like mushrooms don't always grow super straight. And then I'm gonna kind of do like a little tiered effect using some of the wood slice ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm gonna start here with my largest one and glue that to my tray. And I kind of want to stair step that up a little bit so I can have different heights to glue the mushrooms on to make the mushrooms look like different sizes. So they're not just straight across. So I glued a second one on, kind of tiering it like steps. And then I had a smaller one too. So I added that as well. And I'm going to glue one of the mushrooms way up here. kind of leaning that as well. And then I can glue this one on like the second shelf and kind of have that going out its own direction as well. And I love that look. It kind of gives you that like kind of a bracket fungi look as well with the mushrooms. And then I added some Spanish moss, just a little bit here and there for the tray. And then a few fall items like one of the little cotton pieces from the Dollar Tree. And I actually had an acorn that one of my sweet viewers sent me some acorns, and I am going to add that as well. I'm going to finish it off with a little bit more floral moss. I really think that adds to the feel of this. I didn't really have any fall animals that were quite small enough to hide in here, but if I did, I probably would have totally snuck one in. But I really love how this turned out. It's really cute and whimsical. It definitely goes with the fall forest vibes, and I love the color on the mushrooms. I think they're so pretty. It definitely reminds me of something you would see like in a fall forest. And I think I've made some of these velvet mushrooms with the old design, but I really love the new materials they're using on these this year. And I think I saw them in like 5 different colors. So you can kind of make yours whatever colors you like. But I think that the brown looks really nice for the forest theme. For the next DIY, I wanted to make a fun fall scene, and again, I'm going with the Fantastical forest theme. I thought I would try one of the paper craft kits from the Dollar Tree, just for those of you that don't have access to a printer, something that you can use from the Dollar Tree. They have a little fox and a raccoon in this paper product. And I'm also going to be using some of the fall leaf napkins from the Dollar Tree, one of the wood pumpkins, and a wood square. I want to layer the different designs, and so the first thing I'm going to do is decoupage the wood square sign with one of these fall leaf napkins from the Dollar Tree. I just make sure to separate it only into one layer, and then I do a very thin coat of Mod Podge all over so I can decoupage this on. And what an easy background for this sign. And look how it's like the perfect size. And it looks like a wood grain like panel background with leaves all over it. So I think that turned out really cute. I just smoothed mine out with a dry paper towel and gave it a quick dry, and then carefully tried to sand that. You have to be careful, those napkins can really tear. And then I am going to just poke some holes here and here so we can just add some twine to make a new hanger for this sign. I wanted to do a whimsical sign where I had like a fall plaid pumpkin on top of this fall leaf design, and then we can also add little fox and raccoon to it for fun. So I just added the twine, knotting it there on the front. And then this is just the plain wood pumpkin. It doesn't have the little bump out part, so it's really easy to decorate. And this is the fabric I'm using to decorate it. It is a fall fabric that I got at the Dollar Tree with greens and oranges. Perfect, I think, for this theme. I'm just going to cut out a piece a little bit larger than I need. And then I want to add this to it, but it definitely needs a quick iron. I moved my heat press to my crafting station and I use it all the time there. It was a great idea. And I am going to simply sketch this out now that I have it all flattened out and easy to craft with, so I can cut this down to size before I add it to my other sign. And I love the standard things from the Dollar Tree that they have every year, like the pumpkins, the wood pumpkins, the wood leaves and stuff like that. They're so fun to try to find different materials to craft with. And sometimes these flat signs like the pumpkin sign are my favorite because you don't have to remove the little bump outs or anything like that. I did injure myself in a video the other day doing that on the fall leaf. That thing was really on there. And so I think that looks pretty good. It's a little bright. I do tone it down a little bit, but it's fine. And I am going to do a thicker coat of Mod Podge all over the wood pumpkin and glue this on there, kind of using the fabric from the Dollar Tree like you would use like a scrapbook paper or something like that. But it's going to give you a fun texture as well. I'm going to smooth that out, trying to make sure I have really good adhesion and none of my fabric's going to come up. And then we're going to have our little fall pumpkin on top of our little leaf sign. I attached it with hot glue and it fits on there perfectly. I love the contrast between the two. I think they're really fun together. Now for our little fall woodland creatures, these just pop right out. I'm going to do the fox and the raccoon here. I was thinking about doing the autumn word as well, but I kind of liked it, I think, with just the creatures. So I wanted to try something that, you could use if you didn't have access to a printer, something from the Dollar Tree with that fun woodland theme. I thought about adding the acorns too. I kind of went back and forth on the acorns. I just add some Mod Podge here to the back, and I'm going to have them towards the center of the pumpkin where they're right next to each other like little friends. And I Mod Podge both of these down. I do want to add some fun details to this too, so it doesn't look just so much like paper. And then I'm going to Mod Podge here on the top to help seal them. I want to try to take away any of that glossy that I can get. And I also want to try to seal the fabric as well. I'm just trying to take down the glossiness on there so it looks a little bit less like paper and more like the matte finish of everything else on this design. So I did go over them with a couple coats of the matte finish Mod Podge. And then I added the acorns and then I removed the acorns. Do you ever add something to your project and then be like, oh no, I shouldn't have added those? I mean, I think they're cute on there, but I didn't want to add too much because I already have all the busyness of the leaf pattern in the back. So I do end up taking those off. Now to separate the pumpkin and kind of shape that out a little bit, I'm going to use just the thinner brown rope from the Dollar Tree. And just starting here at the very top of the pumpkin, I'm going to hot glue that around. That's going to help seal off, the raw cut of the fabric that we use to cover the pumpkin. But it's also going to kind of separate. I've got two busy designs really working together here. And I really think that the shape of the pumpkin kind of gets lost a little bit without a little bit of definition. So the rope border definitely works well for that, and it's definitely a really easy way to do that. And I just went all the way around the pumpkin, and I'm going to leave the pumpkin stem plaid like that too. I think it looks cute. So I'm just going to have my seam be right about here. That's a good place for a seam. It's not going to be real noticeable. And then I wanted to slightly distress these. So I just used a little bit of ivory paint and I slightly distressed the paper pieces too. Because again, I was trying to get away a little bit from the paper look of them and make them look a little bit more artsy. So I went ahead and distressed all of those, including the acorns that I'm probably going to lose here in just a second. I also decided to distress the fabric a little bit too. I wasn't sure if I was able to do that, but I did. I just kind of used some of that same ivory paint and went over the fabric using a baby wipe to kind of blend that in, and it kind of toned that bright green and yellow down just enough because it was a little bright for my taste. That's when I decided, I think I like it better without the acorns, but that's okay. It was really easy to remove. I just washed these off. And then I'm just going to kind of distress the areas where they were so it blends in. Now, then I decided I wanted to make a frame for this, for the entire project. I'm going to use the wooden easel kits from the Dollar Tree. I ended up using 2 kits for this one. They have these great wood pieces in them, and I love framing things out. You can make a nice thin frame with these. I'm going to use one of these straight long pieces here for the side, and then I'm going to have a piece for the top and the bottom. I'm not going to miter any of the corners. You can if you want to get fancy with your saw. I'm just going to have it kind of go end to end like that, leaving enough room for the top and the bottom one there. So it will form a corner. And so I'm going to need a piece for the other side, the same length. And I just cut those down, trying to cut off like the little hole that was in one. Some of them have points on the end, just giving me straight little board signs. And these can be really great for framing. I've been using them to build so many projects. I do prefer them over the old easel kits that were already pre-assembled. I like items like this where you can kind of take apart the pieces and use them for something else. I do want them to have a rich warm color though, so I am going to give them a quick stain with some Antique Wax by Waverly. And then I want to frame out the project with these. Anytime I can add like a stained wood frame for fall, I'm definitely going to do it. I think it really adds to the warmth of these projects. And again, I am going to just go in here and do all the sides because you're going to be able to see the different sides of the frame and not forgetting the ends. And then I just kind of wipe off the excess with a paper towel. Now we can start putting this together. This is going to be like one of the side pieces. You might want to do the top and bottom first. I don't know if I got this lined up perfectly, but I'm just going to hot glue this on. As you can see, it's a nice small frame, so it's not going to interfere too much with my pumpkin. I have it kind of framed out just on the edge like that, so it doesn't really get in the way of my rope border on my pumpkin. And then I'm going to glue one here from the other side as well. Again, working around what I already have on there. It's probably a good idea to do this part before you add the pumpkin to it. I got it to that point, and then I was like, you know, it really needs a wood frame, so I decided to add this to the project. And I'm glad I did. I think it really finished this project out well. So again, I'm just going to hot glue it here to the edge of my sign. And I'm not too concerned about the corners. I just want them to look relatively square here. And then I added the top piece the same way. Now I'm almost done with this DIY. It was one of those projects that kept evolving a little bit. You know, those projects that need like a little bit more. I wasn't too sure about my corners, so I did reinforce them with my staple gun just to make the project a little bit sturdier. And then to decorate the top of the pumpkin, I decided like some of the acorns from the Dollar Tree and some fall leaves would be really cute on there for the fall theme. And then I don't have to do too much with the pumpkin stem. I just attached those all with hot glue here, kind of going off in different directions. And I tried to use some different fall colors for this as well. Now I do like the little raccoon and the fox on there, but I thought we can make them look even more special if we framed them out with some twine. So I'm just using my fine tip hot glue gun because I don't want too much hot glue. And I'm going around with the twine and gluing it everywhere where there is the white paper outline of these. And I'm really glad I added this last step because I really think it added a fun texture and softness to these and made them kind of more integrate into the project itself. I just didn't want it to look like something that I had glued paper to. And I think that the outlining really helped. So I just kind of did one little section here at a time, attaching that with hot glue. And really you can just use one piece, but if you get to some areas like the tail and in between like the legs here on the fox, it can be a little bit easier just to cut them down into individual pieces. But I just finished framing out this cute little DIY. This goes great with the fantastical fall theme, and I love doing woodland creature projects, especially for fall. They're definitely one of my favorites. So here you can see all of the fun fall fabrics, colors, different details. Definitely a little whimsical DIY. I wanted to see what I could do with those little paper plate kits, something that looks more like some adult crafting because I think those are kind of meant more for children. And here's some more fall forest crafts I've done on my channel.
We're going to use one of these $3 Dollar Tree Plus pumpkins. Had to go a couple towns over, but I was really impressed with like the fall and Halloween at a Dollar Tree Plus. Look how large and detailed this green pumpkin is. I think it's going to be perfect for this DIY. Now, this is what we're going to use for this DIY. It's sisal twine, and I did not get it at Dollar Tree. I couldn't find anything like this at Dollar Tree, so I did have to go to Walmart for that. I think it was about $4, and you get this huge roll. And what I want to do with this is make a little sisal woodland animal peeking out of the pumpkin. I thought that'd be really cute. And then I decided which woodland animal I wanted to do. And I decided I wanted to make a raccoon. So let me show you how I did it. It's my first sisal animal. I've bought these before. I love them, but I wanted to see if I could recreate it. So I start with aluminum foil. I tried a small piece at first and it just wasn't large enough. So I got a way bigger piece of Reynolds wrap. It can be any kind of aluminum foil. And I'm just trying to shape it into like kind of like a head or a snout of a raccoon. So I kind of don't really care. It can be flat on the back, but I just kind of want to have a little bit of a pointier snout like a raccoon would have. But this is the basic shape that I came up with. I went online to try to find out how to make the little sisal animals because I love them. They suggested aluminum foil and pantyhose, and I'll try to find that video and post it below. They had a lot of great ideas. And so I'm just using old pantyhose, like any kind of a flesh color would be good. And I just cut off enough to go over the whole thing. And then it's just a matter of hot gluing the pantyhose just to go up next to the aluminum foil. You don't want like lots of overhanging fabric. The pantyhose works great because it gives you something to glue to besides the aluminum foil. And it just gives it a little bit more shape here. So I just glue down all the loose edges. And if I do have some excess nylon, I just go ahead and trim that off. So that's the first step of a raccoon. It doesn't look like a raccoon, does it? Now, this DIY, I can't say it was easy. It was harder than I thought it was going to be just because it's time consuming. But I'll take you through all the steps of it because it turned out so cute. It's like one of my favorite DIYs I've ever made. So this is the sisal twine. I was trying to figure out how I could create this little guy without like actually having to cut and glue on each individual piece of sisal. And I really couldn't come up with any good ideas. And so that's what it's going to take. So I just start taking the sisal twine and I start cutting it. I'm just going for like larger than an inch. I'm not really measuring it or anything like that, just trying to get about the same size. And then I just put a little band of hot glue down and working quickly, I try to lay as many of those as I can facing towards the back. The back part there is the straight part is like the back of the head. And so I'm going to have like overlapping sisal twines. So it'll kind of look like fur in the final project. So I just went ahead and did one row for the back and then lots of cutting and gluing on this project, probably lots more cutting. I'm getting all those little individual pieces. Now, you don't have to use sisal twine, but I really want it to be authentic. When I looked online, there was different kinds of fibers that you could use, but none of my stores really carried anything. Other ideas were like flax fiber, coconut fibers. There were some other ideas that you could use for this, but usually they use sisal. Now, I think that the sisal, it's pretty thin, but I don't know if it's quite as thin as some of the ones that I have actually bought pre-made, but I think it did a pretty good job. So as you can see, I'm just doing one row at a time. I'm doing the top of the little raccoon head and I'm slightly overlapping, making the hair go back towards the back of the head as I work my way up to the little snout, the little nose here of a raccoon. And I'm just doing the top part just to kind of get my bearings here. If you wanted to go all the way around with each row, you could totally do that. So now that I got the front done, I'm just going to go ahead and do the sides. And I'm going to overlap them and kind of continue that same line that I did on the top. Now, I did have less room on the bottom because of the shape of it. So I'm kind of glad that I did the top and the bottom separately because I did do less rows on the bottom and it made it a little bit easier and you're not really going to be able to see it down there. So this is my other side, just one piece at a time here. I do try to put a band of hot glue and so I don't have to hot glue every single one on, but I got the top, both sides done, and then I did a little bit more here on the nose to fill it all the way in. This little guy turned out so cute. My son was home visiting for college for Labor Day weekend. His friend had a party and I was so happy to see him. So I was so glad that I had somebody to show this DIY to because he's always my biggest fan. So this is the bottom. I think I did like maybe only 3 rows on the bottom. It really didn't need very much. And now it's time for a haircut. Everything seems to be really secure. And so I'm cutting like against the grain and just trimming all over just to try to shape it up a little bit, just to make it look more like raccoon fur, I guess. And again, it's a little thicker, than you would traditionally see for fur, but it totally gives you that same vibe that you get from the little sisal animals. Next up, I just need some thin cardboard. So I'm just going to use a food box like from some macaroni and cheese. And I'm just going to cut out 2 little raccoon ears. They kind of have an ear that's shaped kind of like a cat ear. So I'm kind of thinking cat ear here with like a rounded triangle. And I'm going to need 2 of them. So I'm just trying to cut down 2 of those about the same size and to scale for our little head. Now you could cover that with pantyhose first, but I didn't think it would really be necessary. So again, I'm just taking those little sisal pieces and hot gluing them into a triangular shape here. Just trying to fill up as much of the triangle as I can with those. And since it is an ear, you might be able to see it from behind. So I will have to flip it over and add some of the sisal to the other side too. But this is the first side. And I'm just making them longer than they need to be just because my pieces are a little bit longer, but I can always go back and trim them once I have them all glued down. So this is the back. Mine was blue from the box, but it doesn't really matter because we are going to paint these because I want it to be like traditional colors for raccoons. So I don't think that's going to matter. So I just trimmed my 2 ears and we're only going to do the raccoon head. So that is all the construction on that. I know that was a lot. So now it's time to paint our little raccoon. The first step is I'm going over everything with just some white acrylic. And I am using a Dollar Tree brush to kind of like get down in there between the different fibers, especially since I have kind of like overlapping rows. And the pantyhose doesn't show like through too much, the nylon, but if I can, I try to kind of paint that white as well to kind of make it all blend in. So I'm just going all the way around this little raccoon head. I was like about halfway through this project and I was like, man, I don't know if this looks anything like a raccoon. It really didn't to me, but it came together so cute. I can't wait for you guys to see how it turned out. So once I got the snout painted, I do the same thing here with our little raccoon ears. Just giving them a nice coat of paint on everything, trying to cover up the cardboard that was behind it as well. Now for traditional like raccoon colors, I want my raccoon to be gray. I kind of had a little bit darker color gray, so I'm just lightening it with a little bit of white paint. And then we are going to paint like the back part here of our raccoon head, the like last 2 rows there on the back of the head, that gray color. And then a little bit between the eyes there. That's going to give me that classic raccoon face. He's going to have like the white face with the black markings, but a little bit gray there on the back of his head. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint the ears too. I kind of did the white on these just to kind of give me a base coat to cover up the box and everything. So I just do gray all over those and we will paint those different colors as well. So the inside of the ear, we are just doing white and I just paint like a triangular shape of white acrylic in there. And then I'm going in with black. Now raccoons have like, you know, the black area around their eyes. I'm going to kind of have it like be where the eye is and then it kind of go down like the cheek part with the black, trying not to get it too much out of that little general area. And then I turn it over and do the same thing here with the little raccoon markings on the other side. We're also going just to DIY the little raccoon eyes and nose with some with an item from the Dollar Tree. So that'll be nice and easy too. Now I was trying to find something that I could use from the Dollar Tree. I thought about like unwinding their brown rope, but it kind of gives you like a curvy texture. I even thought about trying to dismantle some burlap ribbon, but in the end, I'm glad that I went to Walmart and just went ahead and got the sisal because sometimes Dollar Tree doesn't have everything that we need for crafting. Now for the ears, as you can see, I just painted a little black triangle on the middle and we are going to attach those with toothpicks. So I just hot glued toothpicks to the back and then I just poke my little raccoon ears right inside the aluminum foil head there. And I do the same thing with the other side. The toothpick really keeps it in place. I didn't really have to use hot glue for that step. Okay, it's time for eyes and nose, and I'm just going to use some of this Model Magic from Dollar Tree. I didn't have any black, which was surprising because I have lots of colors, but I had white, so I'll just paint it, no big deal. I just take a little tiny piece of the Model Magic and just do a little triangular nose, kind of like any animal like that would have. and kind of rounded, and then 2 tiny pieces for eyes. They kind of have larger eyes that are round, and so I do 2 little round eyes and just kind of checking on my nose, trying to make sure it's not too big. I didn't carve any nostrils or anything in it. I thought that was a little bit over the top, so I'm just going to attach it with hot glue, and that model magic does get hard over time. I've DIY'd with it a lot, and I always love the results. Now, right here where the little black eye spots are is where I'm going to hot glue on our little eyes. And mine aren't hard yet, but they will harden up. But I can still go ahead and paint them at this point, and so that's what I do. I just use a tiny brush, and I am going to paint both of our little raccoon eyes black. And I'm also going to paint the little nose of the raccoon black too, just trying to make sure that I don't get any on my little raccoon face. What do you guys think? Isn't he so cute? I absolutely love this little guy, and I want him like he's inside the pumpkin peeking out. So I use like the little raccoon head for reference, and I just kind of mark out how big I'm going to need the hole to be because I don't want it to be too large. I just want him peeking out of the hole, like there's just enough room for him. So now it's just time to carve this Dollar Tree pumpkin. I just used a small knife and just started carving. It is solid with styrofoam like all the way through, but I initially got my little bit of opening here where I could carve that out, and then I can go a little bit deeper because I do want it to be inside the little pumpkin peeking out, and I want it to have plenty of space for his head to fit in there. So I just cut it out a little smaller than needed and then just made it a little bit larger with the carving until he fit in there perfectly. The styrofoam is a little messy, but I was able to carve out enough space for him. And I also want to do enough space for like 2 little paws sticking out underneath of his face. I thought that would be a really cute touch as well. Maybe a little bit more, and I think we're ready. Now for his paws, I was thinking popsicle sticks, and I grabbed a couple different sizes, and I think the smaller one there is the one that I'm going to choose. I think that's going to be a really good scale. These things are so easy to cut. You can just cut them with scissors. I just cut 2 down. I want the little rounded ends because they remind me of what paws would look like for this little guy, right? So I do have to cut down some more sisal and hot glue the sisal to it so I can give it like the same kind of fur that the raccoon had. Kind of forgot about that when I was doing the other part, but you could totally do this step in advance while you had everything going for that. So I just did 2 rows overlapping with the fur kind of pointing down for the paws. And then I just go back with my scissors, give it a haircut, and trim up the paws to kind of give them that paw shape. And they're just going to be one color. So I'm just going to do gray paint on these, and those will be ready to go. You're not going to be able to see the back of them, so I don't really need to do anything back there. And I want it to be like he's peeking out of the pumpkin, maybe a few fall leaves too. I think that will look really cute. So there's his paws. I got those all completed and dried, and now we can start putting it together. I was trying to decide what kind of leaves I wanted to use. I wasn't a big fan of these bold colors with this little guy, but I thought I would try it out. And I decided I wanted a little bit more neutral color, even though I have a lot of color with that green pumpkin. I thought these leaves from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. They're like kind of a golden and like tan color. I think that'll be better. So I think 2 leaves is plenty, just to kind of peek out the bottom here where he's going to have his paws, just to give it a little touch of fall. So I just hot glue both of those in our little hole we carved in the pumpkin. And then the paws can kind of sit on it like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue those in place. You could add them later. I'm just going to go ahead and add those now. And then I have to figure out a way to get my raccoon's head to stick to the pumpkin. Now you can use any kind of dowel for this. Sometimes I like to pick up things on clearance, like these cuticle sticks, because I like to use them for crafting. And it's basically a dowel, and it's a nice small size, and that's what I use. I just put it in the aluminum foil head, and then I just stab through the foam there in the pumpkin, and he fits nicely in there. I want him tucked in the pumpkin a little bit, so it really gives you that effect that he is peeking out. And this is how he turned out. Isn't he just the cutest thing? I have such a soft spot for raccoons. I know they're pests, but they're so cute. My son's campus has them, and we've seen them a couple times there, and he always gets a kick out of them as well. But this is how it turned out. My little sisal raccoon creature for fall, my little woodland animal, peeking out of a Dollar Tree green pumpkin with a few leaves as well. And I'll give you a closer view of this too to kind of show you the different dimensions of this guy because he's just my favorite. He might be one of my favorite DIYs I've ever made. I absolutely love him, and I'm totally on the bandwagon. I totally want to make more like little sisal animals like him because he's so cute.
Now for the next DIY, we're going to be making a wood slice wreath, and I'm going to do like a squirrel theme for this one. So these are the wood slices we're using from the Dollar Tree. They're the round ones. And then I'm using one of their like MDF wood round wreath forms. I really like these wood slices. I was thinking about doing this with the larger ornament size ones that they have at Dollar Tree, but then I found that I had these and I think these are going to be really cute to do like a small wood slice. So I'm just going to lay them all out in advance to see what's going to fit where and if I have to space them out. I did have to end up spacing them out a little bit in a couple places, so I'm just going to kind of space them out all over just to kind of make it uniform. But these wood slices are great. If you're not able to find them, if you had like some like long dowels or like sticks that were about this width, you could definitely cut these down yourself. I know they're hit or miss finding these in the Dollar Tree. Whenever I find them, I'm always sure to grab a lot. They have them in like the long sticks that I use for driftwood. They also have them in like the little wedge shapes, cut at an angle. And then they have these round ones. This is probably my favorite DIY I've ever made with these. It just worked out perfectly for a wreath. As you can see, I'm leaving a small space in between each one. And I'm just using hot glue to attach them one at a time, kind of centering them on there. And I love this wreath form. I've been using this a lot. Again, whenever I can find this one, I am sure to grab it from the crafter square. So we have our little mini wood slice wreath. I think that's going to be great for a woodland squirrel theme. It was pretty easy to do. For the hanger, I'm just going to take a piece of twine and tie a simple loop, and it couldn't be any easier than that. Just like that. And then we're going to make some cinnamon squirrels for it. Now the squirrels that I'm using are from the crafter square. They're little squirrels. They're not from the fall aisle. They're these little chalkboard ones. Not sure if they have them in the fall aisle. I don't have any squirrels that are from the fall aisle, so you might have to get them in the crafter square area if you're going to do the squirrel theme. And I can have one going each direction just like that. They do have holes in kind of a random spot to be ornaments as well, so I fill them in with a little bit of spackle. I think that's going to be fine because we're going to be covering them with cinnamon. So I want them to be dark first before I go ahead and cover them with cinnamon. So I went over them with some dark brown, like a burnt umber first. But as you can see, since I have one going left and one going right like that, they're kind of inconsistent, and I really want them to be a little bit more consistent. So I switched it up to black for the base coat, so they'll both be the same. What I want them to look like is texturized and old, like kind of almost rusty looking squirrels, just to give them a lot more character to add to the wreath. So let me show you how I did that. Once I painted them black and it dried, I'm going to use Mod Podge and just cinnamon from my pantry. Just plain cinnamon. I go ahead and put some Mod Podge on my squirrels. I want to get a pretty even coverage on this. I'm also going to be using some spray glue for this as well. But this is for my first coat. I just open my cinnamon from my pantry and just start sprinkling. As you can see, it's that beautiful color. I think this is going to be the perfect color for a squirrel. And it's going to provide a lot of texture as well. I try to get it covered as well as I can, shaking off any excess. And you will have parts that you'll find that the cinnamon didn't stick to as good as the others. I kind of went back with some more Mod Podge and a dry paintbrush and tried to add more cinnamon. Using a paper plate is necessary because it gets really messy doing this project. I'm going to do the same thing here. Any areas that I see some of the black shining through, I know needs some cinnamon, and I just add a little glue and a little bit more cinnamon to each place. Now they're really a light brown at this point. I'm going to try some of this new Gorilla spray adhesive. I got this on Amazon because I've been having trouble finding the spray glue at Dollar Tree lately. And I spray my squirrels, getting them nice and saturated. Then I realized I really need to put the paper plate back down because this is messy. While it's wet, I'm going to go over with another layer of cinnamon and covering my squirrels completely like that. And then I'm going to spray it down with some more of the spray adhesive. It really kind of changes the color, makes it darker. Be careful that you don't add too much. I did notice a little bit of clogging in that spray adhesive. You have to be careful for that because you'll kind of get some more wet white spots, which I kind of did on one of my squirrels. I might have to touch it up a little bit more later. I do want to make sure that there's none stuck to the edges because I want that great like squirrel silhouette shape. So I just use a dry paintbrush and try to kind of clean the cinnamon off the edges to give me that great silhouette. I want one of my little squirrels down here. This one's the one that had a little bit of glue on it. I'm wondering how that's going to dry. And then I thought, since we're doing a squirrel theme, we should do some acorns as well. So these are the acorns from the Dollar Tree that are kind of the reddish colored ones. And we're going to do like a couple acorns for each squirrel, I think. Now they do stick out quite a bit from the wood slice wreath though, and the squirrels themselves are really thin, and so I thought I'd boost them up with one more of the wood slice, so they'll be like kind of a more like 3D version. They'll look better next to the little acorns that we're adding. So I just glue one of the wood slices there and then glue a squirrel to the top. I'm going to add a little bit of Spanish moss just to kind of give it that forest floor look. Here to the left of our squirrel, I just hot glue that to my wood slices there. And I glue that down first, so it'll be like a little forest floor bedding for the acorns that I'm going to glue on next. The Spanish moss is a little wild, so if it is, you can always trim it up a little bit. I'm going to do 2 acorns down here for this little squirrel. And then I'm going to bump out this squirrel as well with a wood slice. So just gluing that where I want my squirrel and gluing my squirrel to it. I'm glad I decided to do that. It made it look really kind of cool in 3D. So again, I want some of the Spanish moss here. I'm going to put the acorns behind this squirrel, I guess. Kind of works the best that way. So again, I'm doing like just a little bedding of Spanish moss and 2 of these Dollar Tree acorns. I'm going to sit them side by side like that, kind of tilting them different directions and making sure I have enough Spanish moss underneath of them. I just use hot glue to glue those down, and I love those Dollar Tree acorns. I used the other color ones in a recent DIY to make an acorn tree, which turned out really fun. I'm also going to do some more Spanish moss here on the other sides. To kind of finish off that feel, kind of peeking out from the other side of each one of my squirrels and attaching that with a little bit of hot glue. I did notice the heat gun the Mod Podge didn't really appreciate the heat gun and that spray glue. So you might want to let your like cinnamon squirrels air dry a little bit because I think it made them look a little bit white and textured, especially that one on the right. I'm wondering what that will look like tomorrow though, once it really gets a chance to dry. But I kind of like the fact that it kind of makes it look furry, right? So a wood slice wreath for fall. I think it's really creative. I love the squirrel theme. I'm a big fan of them for like fall decor. I really hope you enjoyed these 6 fall forest DIYs today. I had such a great time putting these DIYs together for you. I think they turned out really cute and whimsical, very unique. Please let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, for individual DIYs on your phone.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing but...
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's fall crafting video. I also want to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Lori Hollingsworth, Mindy Hupp, and Jenny. I really appreciate you all so much. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Fun member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video on your phone or your computer. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. And we would also love to see what you've been crafting. Be sure to share your DIYs with us in our private Facebook group, always linked in the description of today's video. Remember, all you have to do is hit show more to see the YouTube description. I always have valuable items there, including chapters and links to printables. And if you would like even more fall crafting DIY ideas, be sure to check out one of these YouTube videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for fall.